And welcome back to another session. And I once again forgot to pop this window so it'll appear on stream. There we go. It's been a day. It's been a long day. Very long day. But um, we are with Party B, or the second party. The other part. I don't remember what the other party keeps calling themselves. I think they were calling themselves the better party. I don't know.
Oh, that's what we're calling them ourselves.
Oh, so you're both the better
Uh,
party.
yeah,
Okay.
I, I,
The
su- I
Thursday group.
suspect.
We'll call you the Thursday group then. Because Party B sounds like Cardi B, and I don't like that. So, um, get a cease and desist letter or whatever the fuck they're called.
Wet
Um,
ass pussy.
yeah. But on that note, where we left off last time, you guys have been traveling. What's it been? 3 days on the road? 4 days. You're on day 5. You just got through the eclipse. Yeah. Yes. You guys are 3 days out from not Grandhelm, Greyborough. On your way down, you encountered a strange canine creature that ended up escaping from you by some means of magic after it attacked. And you ran into an individual, a dragonborn, on the road by the name of Thallow, who you later discovered, or Magnus discovered, was as he also he told you he was a were-dragon, uh, and Magnus witnessed him flying off towards Grand Home as you guys were departing from your little uh, conversation with each other. But
These had to be extra.
yes, just had to be just a little extra. But you guys are still traveling. It is your 5th day on the road. Uh, is there anything that you guys would like to do during the trip, or are you guys just casually passing along?
I just want to get to the destination, brother.
All right.
Been a long road.
It has been a very long road. All right. So you guys end up traveling, and I'm doing a little bit of fast traveling for this one. You guys do a bit of traveling. The next 2 days are relatively quiet. The nights are quiet. The roaring and everything you'd heard in the fields over the last few days, it seems to have stopped with the eclipse. Uh, the eclipse seems to uh, almost like once it's over, it seems to cause all of the wildlife around to almost calm for a brief time. It seems like. So you all don't end up running into anything, though. As we enter the last day, I'm gonna have all of you real quick roll me a perception check.
Nat 20.
Nice.
7. I think mine was a cock die. It's like between 7 and 15.
I got an 11.
You got an 11. All right. Um,
Between us, we've got a gas station.
cool. A gas station, 7-Eleven. It took me like a few seconds to register what you were talking about, and that makes me really sad. But, and Draka, you are the first to notice the city coming into the distance. You notice this large spire that seems to be slowly rising off of the horizon as you all make your way down the road in your cart. Um, uh, as you guys get closer, Magnus, you're the next one to notice as you are sitting in the front next to Trinket, who's still driving the cart. Uh, and as you guys get closer, this tower, as it rises, seems to have smaller buildings starting to peek up around it as you guys are getting closer. And about probably an hour from the city, and Draka, you're the first to notice, there's a man on the side of the road. Um, the man you notice looks to be a tiefling fellow. Very finely dressed individual. Doesn't seem to be looking in your direction until you guys get a little closer as the rest of the party begins to notice this individual. His horns seem a little bigger and they curve upwards, almost like that of like a devil. And as he turns to face all of you, you notice his yellow eyes lack any kind of pupils or irises. They are just straight yellow. And based on the gaze that what you think would be where he would be looking, he seems to be focused on Journey in particular as you guys are approaching. Is there anything you would like to do as you approach this individual? He is on the road.
So, Andraka's the only one to see this?
You all
Well,
notice
he sees it
over time.
first.
Okay, we all
Andraco's
see
the
it.
first.
We
Yeah,
all
you
see
all
it.
see him now.
Magnus is just gonna slowly lean over to Journey and just simply say the word, and he will be less than a corpse on the ground.
Let's not leap quite to violence. Although I am a bit perturbed by how many people have decided to stand in front of her cart on this one journey.
It's the eyes show the eyes are problematic. Well, no, that is the wrong words. The eyes, they show desire. However, most men I've met in my life, their desire has only been to kill.
So see what he wants, but also see what he wants at a distance. I like to use thaumaturgy to increase the sound of my voice and ask him what's what. Why are you like the third or fourth person standing in front of our cart?
He smiles at you addressing him, and he says, he calls out slightly quieter than you, even though he is calling out. Says, oh, I don't mean any harm. Just passing by looking for people who are in the mood for a bet or a challenge. As he begins to slowly start walking towards you guys, Trinket slows the cart a little bit.
I don't know. Do we really want to get involved with gambling again?
I am more worried about this creature, this one being a trickster. Grifters enjoy the roads.
No.
And as you guys get within about 20, 30 feet of him, he gives a look almost of similar to realization, but you're not entirely sure if that is the exact expression that he's giving you, Journey. He says, "Oh," he says, "I think I've seen you perform before." And as he says this, he says, he pulls out a golden lute from his bag. And he says, the name is Lucien. He says, and if you are so willing, I would like to offer you a challenge of performance. What do you say?
I'd say, what are the stakes, friend?
Well, I only have this loot to offer. But, he says, I want to see what you have to offer. And, well, money is not something I am looking for out of these challenges. And he gives you a smile.
Mm-hmm. How about a dagger of venom?
As intriguing as that sounds, I'm more in the lines of betting on abilities, skills, expertises, such things like that. Things that are a little more harder to attain.
Hmm.
He says,
Stop
though.
speaking riddles, friend.
eh,
Just come out and say what you want.
He smiles and chuckles a little bit and says, I'll give you 4 options. He says, I can give you, if you were to win, I have 4 loots. One is just a plain golden one, and he shows the one he's holding in his hand. He says, I have an illusionary one, and I have 2 that would increase your magical abilities. But
All right.
as they get better, so does the stakes. And if you were so bold, I wouldn't mind challenging you for, I don't know, a soul. And he smiles again. His smile seems to get wider.
I don't know, pal. Seems a bit steep for something I could probably walk into any Arcana shop and purchase for myself. I don't know. Any of you guys, how many souls you'd be willing to give up for a magical instrument? I don't think so.
He
Not giving up my soul.
shakes his head a little bit. He says, this is not a trade, but more of an act of, more of a challenge, performance. I want to play against you. See which one of us is better on the lute. And he plays a few chords. If you
I know how
win,
these kind of things go. It's always the weird. Sorry, I don't want to call you weird, but mysterious traveling bard that always manages to outplay the well, more established one. So I don't know if these stakes are worth it to me.
he seems to look a little disappointed. He says, I see. He says, well, there are, lesser things you could give up. And pretty much what he's trying to say is the opportunity he's offering you is you can lose an expertise, a proficiency, or half proficiency if you were to lose a challenge. He's offering to, if you were to win, you gain an item. If he was to win, you would lose a skill or a stat bonus, pretty much.
Not. I think I'm good.
He gives you a bit of a sorrowful nod. He says, all right. He says, well, it was worth the shot.
Safe travels. Sorry, I've just never really been one to play the odds.
Yes, it's always unfortunate to find that out about people, but nevertheless, I will probably find another to have a little fun with. Toodaloo. And he walks off, pocketing his golden loot. Continues down the road.
Could I have
Lord-
one? Maybe, but
Yes. Now, as you guys continue, Trinket, who was a little confused by that, doesn't really. She kind of turns and just says, "That was strange."
yeah, that was
Those
strange.
Those who bargain for souls cannot be trusted.
Yeah, that was my thinking. I mean, granted, those were some nice loots, but a loot for a soul doesn't sound like an exactly fair trade. Should I have lost?
Yes. Yeah, I think I would agree with you there. She continues the cart down the road. You guys reach the city and no problem. Entering the town square, she So, what would you guys like to do now that you are in Greyborough?
Wasn't this the industrialist kind of style place?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Let me describe the city because I am forgetting to do that. So, this city, as you guys were approaching it, um, it almost resembles a steampunkish city. Few pillars of smoke along one side of along the edges of the city, around the industrial districts of the city. You also notice as you're approaching, the city is comprised of a series of rings. Um, and as you guys enter the city, you discover the city has 7 rings to it, and there are bridges and gateways that allow access between different rings. Though when you enter you discover the outer ring, which is one of the thinner rings of the city, is the travelers district and the trade market. So there's a lot of uh, traveling merchants that have set up through this area. There are several taverns and inns. There's a couple of guilds that have set up areas within this region that are selling various items that their guilds specialize in. And based on what you know on this type of city, the deeper in you would go from this point would be kind of climb almost. You'd pretty much be saying you're climbing the tax brackets. It just gets richer and richer as you get to the center, and in the center of this city, that inner ring that you can see the giant uh, needle-like tower that's pointing. You'd probably have to say it's a good 500-600 feet tall. Like, this is a big building. That is pretty much, and the closest building that is like of the closest heights which are around it would probably be another. They're probably only like 100 to 200 feet tall. They don't even compare to this one middle tower. Uh, though you guys have entered one of the markets. So what would you like to do now that you are in the city?
You know, uh, Magnus just looks down to Journey and just, if the people of this place boast their technological advancement, I wonder what creations they have made in the way of martial weapons.
We might as well take advantage while we're here. I suggest we find a place to put the horses, store the
Mm,
cart.
Trinket
yeah.
says, "I can stay with the cart." And she kind of gestures to Belrock, who is unconscious in the back of the cart. He's been sleeping quite heavily through the day. Uh, I think I should stay with him.
Sure, I'm sure there's plenty of opportunities for someone in your line of work in a place like this.
Oh, I've seen my share of things in the city. I've been here once or twice.
Well, got any suggestions where we should go first? As people might not be so heavily acquainted with Greyborough.
Uh, it depends what you're looking for. I would have to say, if you're looking for a good weapon, this outer ring doesn't have anything too special, but it is a little more difficult to get to the inner rings.
I see.
What makes it difficult?
Oh, you have to know people. And they it's mostly wizards and artificers who are traveling more into the inner rings. Um, I know there's several checkpoints along the bridges and the gates. Um, and even then, even if you were to get in there, you may not be able to find what you're looking for, due to people not working well with outsiders. I had a few running-ins with a few last time I was here.
And
But
Draka here is an artificer, isn't he?
well,
Yeah.
Albeit
Though
not
most likely
very
not
socially.
a. Yeah, social would be the correct wording.
yeah, and it's the inner cities are more run by elven and human individuals.
I would say.
So some of our kind, the more beast folk type individuals, have a little harder time getting in.
Hmm. Sad.
Well, I'm sure I could, well, get us in if we'd like to take a look around.
And
We may need to look for work here as well,
I
while we
agree.
have coin in our pockets. Place
I'd
like
rather
this,
not
nothing will go cheap.
go straight to the Outlands, especially after having been on the road for as long as we were.
Yes.
we do have if we were to continue, I can go around and ask. I do know there's uh, a lot of caravans, large groups that kind of group together to head to Drygin, the first city that we would run into in the Outlands.
Mm.
Uh,
It
That
might
would be
be,
useful.
yeah, it'd be
yes,
safer to
I can
travel
ask
that way.
around, and we could probably get on the road either by the end of today or tomorrow, if I
Tomorrow,
find the right place, or right
Yes,
people.
let's give ourselves some breathing room.
we need time tomorrow. And Magnus will look to Journey. If we find quick work at the least, it may be best we do it. Like,
I
I
agree.
assume that this place will be expensive.
I agree. Perhaps we should check a local tavern for a bounty board or something.
Hmm, maybe. But if we pass through the shops, I need to check if there are better weaponry. And he kind of just taps the head of his axe. There must be something which can cause more carnage.
I'm sure there's all kinds of mechanically assisted killing devices here.
Hmm,
Well, no time like the present, shall we, gentlemen?
yeah.
Good luck, Trinket. Uh, good luck doing what?
I,
Well,
I,
babysitting the bird over there.
he should be too much of a problem. If anything, Dusk will help me with her. Uh, I'll let you know. One of us will let you know what tavern we end up uh, trying to room at. So I guess I'll just see you around. She starts the cart up again and starts
See you around.
moving along. So it is now just the three of you standing in the middle of the market.
Should we
I'm
just
gonna
pick a
start.
direction and walk?
Yeah, and I'm gonna keep an eye out for for any kind of weaponry because I really want to like I can only rage 3 times per day, so it's not like relying on that as my main damage dealer is a good idea.
Yeah. Okay. Roll if you want to find a weapon shop. Roll a. I'd say perception check.
All right. Oh, uh, 23.
Okay, yeah,
Nice.
you find there's a few there's a couple armories you stumble upon, a few forges as well. Um, and as you go through a lot of these places, they sell a few enchanted blades. Um, your common +1, +2 type blades. You do see one or two places selling daggers of venom, like what Journey is carrying. Uh, there's a couple of odd weaponry that mostly strange daggers that may have some sort of special property, but you do notice that some of these things have a very high price on them.
Actually, I did want to check beforehand. Do like in general, it's not like in general chainsaws would exist, but is the idea of a chainsaw existent in this universe?
Steampunk chainsaw.
Um, I would say there's a concept similar to the chainsaw,
Yeah, okay.
but
Maybe we'll have to look at that.
it is more of a uh
No, that's all I needed to know.
yeah,
Because I mean,
it's more like something you would put onto a device like a cart or something and use it that way.
that makes sense.
They're
Yeah,
very big and bulky type
makes
deal.
sense. Yeah, yeah.
Magnus is a pretty big and bulky dude.
Like I'm just saying that because like there's such thing as chain axes.
Yeah,
Well,
that is
maybe
a
we'll be able to
thing.
find something
No, it's
analogous to it in the
like
Six
a
Dragon.
week ago, I was looking up the Warhammer style weapons, and it's like I got really distracted, so I found stat blocks for chain axe, a chain sword, and Reinhardt's rocket hammer. I was like, yes.
Sounds about right. Um,
Well,
oh,
no. Well, Magnus, if you're not pleased with the selection here, we could always try heading further into the city. Perhaps as we
Uh,
grow closer to the city's technological heart, the well, level of
uh,
technology we'll be able to purchase will increase in turn.
yes,
I
that
will
may.
say too, as you were passing through, there's one shop that caught your eye. Um, it wasn't particularly a weapon shop, but they had several odds and ends of odd looking devices, not like steampunkish type things like relics, more ancient items. And when you peeked inside while passing, you did notice inside there was they did have a few blades, a couple large swords, stuff like that here and there within the place. Do you use a shield, or
No, no, I have
you use a versatile weapon, right?
yeah, I use versatile because I wanted a shield and then was like, I'm never getting a shield, so I might as well just two-handed. I
Yeah,
should have just
but
grabbed a great axe, but fuck it.
that was what I was asking because I was just curious. Um,
Yeah.
you do see a couple big blades. There's one that you do notice in this shop. Um, a very large blade. Black leather makes up the hilt. Um, where did I put that description? Just had it like 2 seconds ago. I have it. It is. Do I not have it? Where is my stuff? Where did my things go? Why are they deleting? Why am I losing things?
Virus.
Most likely deep in
Aha!
the
I found
city.
it.
Oh,
Here
okay.
we are. I found it. You see this it's on a little stand. There's a blood iron sword. Um it's sitting on one of the counters. Um and you notice at the top of the black hilt of the sword, there is a what looks to be what you can only describe as a laughing mouth with a blade through it that is embedded just between the hilt of the sword and the blade itself.
So the mouth is the cross guard.
Yeah.
Okay. Magnus is just gonna slowly walk up to it and look towards the shopkeep. Just ask, "What is this weapon?"
He says, and the shopkeep that you see is just a human man. Pretty, uh, he doesn't look like someone who would fight in any kind of way. He's kind of very scrawny looking individual, matted black hair, grayish eyes. He looks at you and he says, "Oh, this is well, we don't have a name for it. We've only gotten this within the last 2 days. I don't even have a name for it. It's a very odd blade that we got our hands on.
What can it do?
Um, it we don't know. It's for one though, we have noticed it's kept its sharpness throughout its journey, even though many of the blades we get usually get chips in them or dulled. This one has not. And a few of the people who brought it uh, said they've heard laughing from it, but I've not heard anything yet. Uh,
When looking at the sword, Tyler, is it a great sword or a long sword?
it's a long sword.
Oh, then Magnus just kind of gives a grimace and just too flimsy, and he just walks back out.
Are we gonna pass up a cursed and or haunted
And
sword?
as you are walking away from it, you hear the laughing, a very soft, twisted laugh, and
He,
you glance
Magnus just
back at the blade a little bit, and you swear you can see the mouth moving on the blade.
Magnus just looks down to Journey and just says, "Long swords are made to have flex. They're useless against shields. An axe breaks through it like chopping a tree."
It's all well and good, but we don't call the scary sword useless to its face. Let's get out of here.
If the blade can bend, it is useless to someone like me.
And as you keep walking away, the laughing gets louder and louder. Shopkeep doesn't seem to notice. Also, you've noticed this. He's unable to hear whatever laughing you're hearing, and as you leave the shop, the laughing ceases.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about voices in Magnus's head. That's normal, dude. So I don't know
Yeah.
what to say.
I mean, this
Like,
is different from what anything Magnus has experienced.
it's just, I mean, he's not even looking around, man. It's just he's just going like he like to Journey would just be, maybe we should go deeper into the city. Even if we cannot find things we will be able to purchase. Work there might be more lucrative, to say the least.
I agree.
It was a long silence. It was like, is anyone gonna say anything?
It is a spooky sword, okay?
It's a
Mm,
very spooky sword.
a weapon is not what you should be afraid of.
Okay.
Yeah, it's those who wield the weapon.
Mm,
Yep,
yeah.
you guys. So you guys are trying to head deeper into the city.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Um, as you guys look around for kind of an entry point, you do find there are two. There's a bridge that seems to lead deeper into the city, as well as there's a gate that leads into the sixth ring of the city. You do notice this gate, however, the guards there's only like one or two guards posted at this gate, while the bridge has a whole checkpoint upon it, uh, consisting of probably a dozen, 2 dozen guards uh, at this checkpoint.
So we try to smooth talk the guards to get into the next ring.
Mm, then the gate will be best. Less ears.
I agree.
All right, you guys head to the gate. The two guards there don't notice you until you get a little closer, looking you up and down for a moment. And one of them, uh, it's a half orc individual, steps forward and says, "Halt! What brings
Uh,
you to the sixth ring?"
Well, hi. We were hoping to use the sixth ring to peruse the shops, if that's all right.
There are no shops within the sixth ring.
Oh, really?
Only
Could you
living
tell me what
quarters.
Could you tell me what amenities are available within the sixth ring?
There isn't much. It is a poor district.
Hmm, I see. What's in the fifth ring?
Let me pull up my notes that I'm trying to flip through, but it keeps wanting to go back. Uh, the the fifth ring is uh, closed down shops, but a lot of black market.
Hmm. Why are they closed, if I might ask?
Government orders.
Why does it sound like the deeper within your city you go, the less, and he kind of looks around in the current area they're in, peaceable it is?
Um, Not entirely sure what you mean.
Well, this area seems fine, but if you're saying past that gate is a less fortunate area, and past there is where you find criminals and their markets, that is setting a pattern that does not sound safe.
Well, the rings beyond that contain uh, the more fortunate families and their businesses, as well as education.
Hmm. Wouldn't. So to get to somewhere nicer, you have to pass through your slums and your crime-riddled areas.
Well, that is what the bridges are for. But
Uh,
you must have accommodations or someone speaking for you.
Sadly, I have a family member within your slums whom I wish to visit.
And whom may they be?
Hmm. Given where we are from, I believe you would be understanding in the statement of, well, they would not wish to be known.
Roll a persuasion check.
16.
Kind of looks you up and down. It looks to his friend, who is a half elf individual. He says, "Fine, you can go in." He kind of shifts out of the way just a little bit, keeping his hand on the long sword on his side,
Thank
kind
you.
of resting it on the hilt. He gives you a nod, and you guys enter this sixth ring of the city. Um, it's pretty much what you would have expected. The roads are in this part of the city. That outer ring you were in, they were cobblestone streets, decently nice buildings, stuff like that. This inner ring, some of the roads are gravel, like broke. They look like they could have once been cobblestone, but they were broken up so much that they become smaller, more jagged stones. Some of the roads are dirt. The buildings here, some look like they're entering the verge of collapsing. Others are just rigid and old. There are a few ruins here and there of houses that look to have burned down. And as you guys are perusing the street, you also notice there seems to be quite a few, what you can only describe as gang affiliated individuals of some sort. Some having tattoos to show a symbol of whatever particular faction they're within, or wearing certain colors. And a lot of them are eyeing your group, the three of you, as you guys are making your way through the district.
Magnus looks down to Journey once more. Do you know what a thief catcher is?
Yeah.
Places like this are where those are very profitable.
Perhaps it's best if we push through this area and into the next ring.
All right.
Okay. Let's roll a perception check. See if you can find how long it takes you to find the next gate. You can either both do it or one of you roll with advantage because the other one is helping.
22.
Okay, yeah,
That's
you
a nice
find
roll
the
set.
next gate fairly quickly. There are no guards at this gate. It is chained. It is a iron cast kind of barred gate. It has chains across it, but you've noticed that these chains have been stretched. And it looks like with the right maneuvering, you could squeeze yourself through the two gates. Which you actually see a teenage human boy do as you guys are approaching it, squeezes through the gate, and then runs off out of sight into the next ring.
Hmm. Well, evidently they don't want these people getting out. Worrisome.
Maybe it does not completely matter.
Well, should we try moving into the next area through some means or turn back? If it's just residential from here on.
The next area is to markets more geared towards my taste. However, we need to go through that to enter the new lair. It is your choice.
Fine with whatever.
Truthfully, I am okay with staying here and murdering the obvious gangs which stay here. But they most likely do not have much valuables to be least of when dead.
Oh, let's not do anything that would be construed as causing trouble.
I guess not.
I try picking the chains on the lock. I'm the lock on the chains.
Do you have thieves' tools?
Do I have thieves' tools? That's a good question. For some reason, I thought I did, but I don't think I actually do. Never mind.
That's fine. We'll deal with the lock my way then. So it's just
you attacking the lock.
Yeah, just gonna grab the lock and just yank real hard.
Roll a strength check.
18.
You pull at this lock and this chain. You pull and you pull for several seconds. It doesn't budge. It makes a few creaks, but it does not break or budge.
What a bother. Let's see here. Hold on. We have a fucking artificer. Hey, Jared. Have anything that breaks a lock or just opens a lock?
I don't know.
Fucking check. You're an artificer.
I mean, I do.
Hey, you do.
Speak to him in
No one-
character.
Will you please do so?
No one's asking me to do anything.
It's this fucking Magnus just turns when he isn't able to just rip the lock off. Just, do you have anything of use, lizard man?
I can try picking the lock.
You have thieves' tools?
Yep.
All right, roll. Are you proficient with thieves' tools?
Yes.
Okay, then roll a sleight of hand check plus your proficiency. Because no, it would be your dex. It's a dex check with your proficiency. That's right.
So I don't do sleight of hand?
No, you do your dex check. So you'd roll with your dexterity modifier and then add +2
16.
as well. You rolled it. Oh, okay. All right. You dig around this lock for a second, and you're maneuvering your tools around for a moment, and then you get part of the way through the lock, and your hand slips up, and you lose your holding and drop one of your tools. The lock is still unbudged.
All right. It works in the movies. I'm going to shoot it.
With your lightning cannon,
All right, roll an attack on the lock.
let's all step back.
Hot damn! Roll damage for me. With a loud bang, you watch as this lizard just. You don't know if he's irritated or not because he doesn't really show emotions, but he just blows the lock off the gate and almost knocks one of the doors off the hinges as it swings open. Partially damaged. That shot you fired echoes through this ring. And the bridge that isn't too far from you, you see people peeking over the edge, trying to figure out what happened.
Magnus just starts moving.
All right. So you guys head into the fifth ring of the city?
Yeah, just getting in there and getting out of sight of the,
The bridge.
fucking shot spot. Jesus.
We didn't do anything.
All right, so you guys quickly make your way into the fifth ring. What do you guys, as you guys enter this area, actually, this area looks a lot better than the area you were just in. The roads are here; they are cobblestone. They look relatively unused at the moment. It doesn't seem that much passes through this area. A lot of the buildings have boarded up windows. Some windows are shattered. A lot of the places you see as you are quickly making your way into the area, they're completely empty. They're just empty buildings. Though, as you make your way deeper in, you start noticing shadows moving around, figures darting in and out of sight. Every so often, you'll hear a door close as you round a corner, sometimes followed by a series of locks.
We
You
are
guys,
sure jumpy.
Yeah, you looking for anything in particular while you were here?
Hmm.
Guard said black market shops here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they can't be that hidden if everyone knows about them, right?
They know of
Correct.
their based on what you guys, they know of their existence. They're hard to find if you don't know
Find them, would
where to
that be like
look.
an insight check or something?
It would be another perception check to be able, or I would say probably for this one, it would probably be somewhere around the lines of like maybe an investigation because you would have to find the way to get there.
Mind if I do an investigation check?
You can do that.
Let's see. Rolling. I rolled a 1. Wait, no, that's a 7. It just looks real weird. I got an 11. I love
Gotcha.
how like sometimes it's like positioned so weirdly that it looks like a 1. It's weird.
What are you laughing about, sir?
Uh, Evan is watching this.
Oh, is he messaging you?
No, he's not, but I see Evan in the users chat, so I hope he heard you say that.
Say what? Oh, the
Something about
investigation thing?
investigation
Because he
checks.
because he never gets them, he only gets perception checks.
Mhm.
Uh,
It's
uh,
wonderful.
good times.
Yeah, I rolled an 11.
You guys look around. You
Actually,
guys
was this check for all of us?
you can make one if you want.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool. Nat 20.
we're all just splitting up and looking for clues.
Okay. Magnus seems to understand how these places work, which I guess kind of makes sense with his character. It takes you guys about an hour to finally get a hold of something though. Um, and you do end up finding a shop or black market shop. Um, it's you find this old. It looks like a diner. Um, and when you enter, there are a few armed individuals inside. Some actually holding firearms of various kinds. One of them has it's a goblin individual holding a small sawed-off shotgun. Uh, Another orc holding a rifle of some sort. Uh, and they're kind of scattered about this place. They don't say anything to you as you enter, and as you kind of walk into the back, you find a staircase leading down to what you would believe to be like a cellar for this kind of dining establishment when it was an actual diner. And you enter, you go down the staircase and find a large opened area uh, with various carts, or not carts, various makeshift stands that have been built out of kind of whatever they can find, random shelves, planks of wood. Uh, One of them is just set up stuff on the ground and set up walls around it so that only you can only enter the little section through one way. And most of the individuals down here seem to be a lot of them are goblinoid or beast folk of some sort.
Good
Um,
detective work, big guy.
I notice things.
so looking around, you see all the various stands. So, what are you wanting to try to look for in particular?
Well, I will always have an eye for weaponry, but uh I mean if there's anything interesting for that of a more ranged availability, I will always give a bit of time to look at that.
So, looking around, you notice various for ranged options in particular as well. There are various crossbows. There are heavy, light hand crossbows. There are also different types of bolts for these crossbows as well. And you do notice as you are perusing around, there's also a section of an individual who has arrows and bolts that seem to have arcane runes tagged onto them.
Ooh, shiny.
Um, all these runes, they seem he's kind of labeled some of them. You notice that they range, a lot of these arrows range from kind of your more common type item to rare. And these runes, roll an Arcana check for me. See if you'd be able to identify any of these specific runes on what they would be associated with.
9. Dirty.
39.
When rolling that, would you have 16 intelligence?
Is Magnus going to roll or nah?
No, I'm not looking at those.
Okay. Yeah, you only notice there's only one or two of the runes that you can identify. They seem to be wizard spells. One that you do recognize for sure is the one for Thunder Wave, though, which is a spell that you know you are able to learn, but it is bedded on one of these arrowheads as you pass by. Give it a glance.
What does it do again?
It has the symbol for Thunder Wave on it, like a rune that would represent Thunder Wave.
Hmm.
And what you can
Excuse
what
me,
you can kind of guess from these arrows with that check is these arrows have the spell imbued into them.
point and shoot like that. Excuse me, how much for a one of these Thunderwave bolts here?
Oh, the Thunderwave ones? Little goblin individual standing at the behind the cart scratches his chin, which has various degrees of stubble on it. As he's kind of looking over the area, he says, "I'll sell you one for 50 gold."
50 gold. Tell me, how much would you sell a... Never mind. It's outside my budget, but thank you.
Kind of gives you just, it doesn't nod or anything. He just kind of looks at you, doesn't say anything else as you walk
Now,
off.
these crossbows, do any of them look like they would profit from the from strength rather than some style of dexterity?
Why aren't you appearing on my list? Oh, that's why. I'm on the wrong list. Trying to look at stuff and it's just like, no. I'm trying to remember if there is even a crossbow that does use strength. I think a heavy crossbow uses strength, but I could be wrong. Let me check. Let me ensure that my intel is correct. I guess it doesn't say, does it? The
Never
I'm
mind.
gonna there's some large crossbows that would potentially be used for you could think you could use them with you would have to be pretty strong in order to hold them
All right.
type deal.
You're pretty strong.
Now, what about the melee weapons? I do want to worry about that.
You see, just like you had seen on the outside, various swords of different kinds.
Mm.
There's nothing too special here. They have a few that are marked with some arcane runes. Though you can't tell if they're actual authentic runes or if they are some sort of illusion.
All right.
Being a black market and with that role of being able to find one, you would know that some of these places often have fake enchantments upon weapons. They'll place an illusion upon an item to trick someone into buying it.
All right. Okay. Nah, I'm good here. I am fine here.
Do they have any hand crossbows here?
Yes, they have a few hand crossbows.
Hmm.
When you are you looking for to get one?
Oh, I already own one. I'm just wondering if there's any that are a bit more mechanically assisted, considering the locale.
You notice actually roll a, let's say, perception check on these crossbows.
Perception time. Not performance, not persuasion. Perception. I'm rolling shit tonight. 8.
They just look like regular hand crossbows. There's nothing special about these.
Oh well.
A few
My
looked a
current
little jerry-rigged, possibly dangerous.
Ooh, danger. Well, I think I'm content with what I have right now.
I believe it time for us to take our leave.
All right. So you guys are heading out of the black market, empty-handed. The
Yeah.
individuals who saw you on your way in don't say anything as you pass by again, exiting the building. Where are you attempting to head now? It's probably been about, you've been probably walking around the city for about 3 to 4 hours now, since you've arrived. By this point, it would probably, it's getting near the end of the afternoon. You're entering probably around the evening. Sun's starting to slowly make its way down.
I think I'm gonna look for another way to get deeper into the layers of the city.
It's
Okay.
like an onion. You just got to keep on peeling them back.
Roll a perception
Yeah.
check for me.
At a certain point, you gotta catch a break. I mean, 23.
All right. Looking around, you do find another gate. And based on what you kind of get out of this, there seems to be a number of gates on each layer, but they seem to be offset from other gates to force a non-linear path in order to get through parts of the city.
Makes sense. Yeah, that's
Um,
just good. That's just good siege tactics.
Yeah. Though when you see this gate, you notice it is two large iron doors block the way, and atop the wall of this gate there are towers. There are two towers, and affixed to the top of these towers look to be these large. They're almost like crossbows. Um, but they don't. Atop them, they have a steel pipe that extrudes from the front of them, and you can see arcane runes along this pipe.
Hmm.
And sitting on the back of it, there is someone sitting on the back of it, kind of shifting it around as they just keep watch. Below this platform where this interesting weapon is, there are windows, and there are guards looking through these windows, looking down. Haven't noticed you because you're not close enough, but they are keeping a watch around this doorway.
Should we go back to the bridge or attempt a peaceful approach of the gate?
I say we approach the gate peacefully. No
Of
sudden
course.
movements.
Okay, so you're approaching the gate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, you guys come out onto the street and start approaching. Um, Upon entering the line of sight of these individuals, you see both guns immediately point in your direction as a guard steps out of one of the towers onto the middle kind of ridge between them. And he calls out, he says, "Halt! Come no further. We do not permit people through the gate."
I would like to use deception to say we are here to see my sister-in-law, who doesn't exist.
Okay, roll
Obviously
your,
not going to state the who doesn't exist at the end of that.
yes, roll
Obviously,
the,
I'm just saying. I'm just saying that's why I like to use deception.
roll
to
your
say.
deception check.
Silver tongue. So that 9 is actually a 10.
So you got 19.
Yeah, and yeah, 19.
He responds, "You should have come using the bridge. We do not let
Oh,
people through this gate."
Now we got lost. Is there a way you could um, tell us the proper way into the ring? The
Yes,
guard
use
and some let us in, and I don't know. It's
Magnus
been
is
a
going to very
whole
slowly
thing
put
getting
his
here.
hands into his face as if not in the look of crying, but as though he is sad.
the guard is going to say, "If you go back to the sixth ring, there is a way onto the bridge."
And Magnus just looks up. I implore you, sir. A family member of mine in this area is no longer with us. We simply need to pass.
He just pauses for a moment. He then says, "I'm sorry to hear about your loss, but you will have to find a way onto the bridge.
I
There's nothing else I
do.
can do."
Can I do a persuasion check? To ask him to let us in.
You can try.
Okay.
I set it up, man. Now you gotta
Okay.
knock him down. That's all you gotta
22.
do.
He looks torn. You are tearing this man apart, emotionally and morally.
Tearing me apart, Lisa.
He pauses for a moment before kind of hurrying inside and begins to speak with some of the others. You hear chatter. You can't understand any of it, but you do hear them talking to one another. And a different man comes out, and you see an Aarakocra dressed in the same guard uniform. He glides down to the street, hands behind his back, and he slowly approaches you. And he says, "If you would like, I can lead you to the bridge, but we do not open the gate."
Thank you for your kindness, sir. We'll be on our way.
While we is the guy following us if we leave him, or
He was offering to guide you to the bridge.
yeah, because I don't know if Journey was like, yeah, we're good or not. It just kind of sounded like it.
Oh, no, I meant, yeah, we'd be happy to accept your assistance,
Oh, okay.
and we're not going to bother the gate anymore.
He gives you a nod, and he walks past you and begins leading the way. And
Magnus is still gonna look down to Journey and just say, "It is an odd waste of resources to have a gate that should not be opened."
Yeah, it's strange to me that basically 2 rings of the city have been cut off from any official support. It'd be so bad
That is
about these
what
people that they're trying to keep them locked in here.
It is simply what the rich do to those they deem lesser.
Suppose you're right.
And so you guys follow this man as you talk behind his back.
Yeah,
Um,
because Magnus doesn't fucking care if this guy
Yeah.
hears him because he's a guard. Griping about people who get paid more than him is like probably fucking nice for him, man. Like,
um,
I'm not from around here,
real
so my
quick,
character's
roll
just...
a. I'm trying to think of what you would roll to kind of understand what rank he is.
Maybe
I would
insight?
say basic and maybe insight. Insight probably would work. No, insight's wisdom. I would say either a basic intelligence check or maybe history.
What's tough to roll?
10.
Whoever wants to roll if they want to know what kind of rank this individual is.
23.
Wow. Based on what you can tell, this individual that is leading you guys, he's a higher up ranked individual. Probably one of the captains who leads this specific group of guards on the wall. And as such, you can tell the way he is holding himself up, kind of think of like your 16th century movies with the red coats of like standing up tall, holding their hands behind their backs, putting their nose up to everyone type deal. That's what this individual's doing. He is.
Yeah, Journey kind of sussing out his kind of rank, she would say, "We're so sorry again, Captain. I haven't had a chance to visit my family here before and, well, got lost. So thank you again for your kindness."
He gives you a slight nod and says, "Oh, it is nothing."
We're up from Morian Bay, so, well, we don't get many opportunities to come as south as Greyborough.
Quite the journey you've taken then.
Yeah. Yeah, you could say that we were out during the eclipse. It was quite scary, but, well, it's been a death in the family, so we're here to support her.
Yes. You are lucky to have not been attacked during the eclipse. Very
Yeah.
dangerous times. And you guys reach the gate that you had kind of blown open. He goes, it seems the lock has been broken again. I'll have to get someone back on this.
Yeah,
He kind of
we
picks it up and looks it over.
passed through here earlier and it was like that. It looks like you guys deal with a lot of crime in this area.
Oh, yes. More than I would like to admit. And he puts down the chain and the lock, keeps walking. After about 5 more minutes, he gets you to this. It's almost like a curving ramp leading up to the bridge, and he gestures to it and says, "This is where we will part."
Thank you again, Captain, and I'll pass him 5 gold for his trouble, because it was quite brave and quite dangerous of you to take us through that area of town, and we quite appreciate your help.
He gives you a nod, taking the money as he looks around, kind of watching for prying eyes, and he says, "It was nothing." He says, "I'm sorry to. You have my condolences on your loss."
Thank you.
And he watches you guys begin to ascend this ramp. And about when you're about halfway, he takes a few steps and leaps into the air, flying back to his post.
I hope this bridge does not ask as many questions as those at the door.
Well, considering this is the proper method of egress, I don't know. It might even be more tight, the immigration, that is.
I dislike when they ask where I'm from. It causes annoying assumptions.
Just follow
You
my lead, okay?
guys reach the top of this ramp, and there are guards stationed at the top of this ramp. The first one steps forward. He's dressed a little differently than some of the other ones. Um, he's in robes instead of this uniform, and you do see a spell book by his side. And he just for you says, "Halt! What brings you up to the bridge?"
Hi, we were seeking passage into the, let me do some math, fourth ring. That's the first residential middle class, right?
Yes.
Okay, out of character.
He says, and for what reason?
Well, we're here for a family emergency. My sister-in-law recently, her child passed, and we are here for the wake.
Do you
We're
have
up from
any?
Morian Bay.
Do you have any letters or proof of this?
It is against our culture to keep such things. They're burnt and spread across the oceans.
Roll deception. Either one of you with advantage or both of you.
Probably more advantageous for me to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a 13. You said roll with advantage, then I will. Wait, no. Okay, so that would actually be a 19 because of silver tongue. But let's just see what happens here. Okay,
It's the
I
same.
guess. So yeah,
He
It-
looks you both up and down for a moment, and says, "One moment." And he turns and begins whispering to a couple of others who are nearby.
any trouble? We were escorted here by that Aarakocra guard who just departed.
And they keep whispering to one another for a moment before turning back and says, "Is there any other reason for you to be in the city?"
No, we are just here to, well, for the wake and for the ultimate, I guess, putting the child to rest. We'll
He lets out a bit of a sigh. He reaches into this what looks almost like a satchel on his side, and he pulls out a card. He hands it to you, and he says, "This will get you into the fourth ring, but no further."
Thank you, Captain. And we are sorry for not having the proper documentation to show you.
He says, "We will let it slide this time, but next time you need it."
Okay. We understand. Thank you.
He turns away, and as he's turning, he says, "Let them through." He steps out of the
Savinoff,
way
bless you.
and gives you a nod. You guys pass through the gate, getting onto this large bridge. Now that you're up here, you notice a lot of the people up here, a lot of upper class individuals, a lot of guild members as well, and there's not as most of the people up here either are wearing a uniform of some sort or are in uh, fine clothing. Um, None of them really catch your eye in particular on like anyone important of any kind, though. But you do see that these people are of higher wealth or of importance in some way, shape, or form.
I think Journey kind of just like a whistle, like, wow. Trinket would love it here.
Yes, but this area seems more residential than factory. No, manufacturer, industrial.
Well, say we see what we can see.
Yes, that will be useful.
Bro, there's got to be some shops here. I doubt people who live like this want to trot all the way out to the 7th ring.
And you notice as you guys are passing around this point, the 5th ring, you notice there are structures that resemble the ramps that you took in the 6th ring, but they are destroyed. Completely detached, looks like to prevent anyone from the 5th ring from coming up, and there are abandoned guard posts that don't seem to have anyone on them because there's no need for them.
I wonder what could have happened to make them cut off such a large part of the city.
They're losing their own home to those with larger dreams than their pockets can hold.
Perhaps. It just seems a bit excessive is all.
Yeah. Excessive measures to silence those who wish to have a voice. Tale as old as time.
Song as old as rhyme.
And you guys reach the 4th ring. You notice there are 3 lines kind of set up. There's a center one to pass on to deeper rings within the city. You notice a lot of these people very nicely dressed, or they appear to be students of some sort, as well as a couple of guild individuals heading in as well. And the other 2 lines you notice is a lot of people flashing. They're handing the guards the same card that you were given, some of them. Others are showing a form of identification that is allowing them to pass into the 4th ring.
Oh, I suppose we better do the same.
You approach, and the guard says, identification or pass.
Here's our pass.
Takes it, he looks it over for a second. He says, you may pass.
Thank you.
And gestures for you 3 to pass through. I said pass a lot, a few seconds, wow.
That's why they call it a pass, so you can
yes.
pass.
Yes. You guys go down the ramp into this district. This area looks a lot like kind of what Morian Bay looked like. A lot of not super luxurious houses, but these they're nicer buildings. They look a little old, but they're well maintained. And as you're passing through, you also notice there's a lot of little family shops here and there attached to homes. There are areas of like communities of different races. Some intermingling, some are kind of just the one race that's kind of clustered in one area. Like there are a few places. Very rarely you do see one community. It looks to be and it's the only one you see like this. It's a group of like a goblinoid community, bugbears and hobgoblins and such living in this area. Other than that, though, it's nothing too special in this area, as you've noticed.
At least it's a nice change of scenery.
Are you guys looking for anything in particular?
Yeah, I'm definitely looking for like anywhere that would look like it could sell weaponry, even though that's probably less of a chance around here.
Or they might be selling more exclusively higher quality weapons to upper class people.
Roll a perception check for me again.
I'll roll as well. I am interested in the
15.
same.
You say 15?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what I get. Perception, go. 11. You definitely
Okay.
won that
Um,
roll over me.
so you guys, it takes you a little bit. You do find a family forge, owned by it looks to be a small family of dwarves. Um, upon entering, you see what you can only assume to be probably the father, uh, hammering away at a long sword that he has been working on. The bright orange metal sparking every time he slams his hammer onto it. And he looks up to see you all enter, quickly turning and dousing the blade in what you only believe to be a bucket of or barrel of oil or water. You can't exactly tell. And he sets down the cooled blade and his hammer, taking off his gloves. And he turns. He says, "How can I help you all?"
I'm looking for most likely an axe style weapon. Something that, when heavy enough that it would take one of my build to throw usefully. And also something with an enchantment to return to my hands.
Let me see what I can find. And he goes and starts digging around through. You notice in like a corner, he's got a large uh, collection of random blades and other things. He says, "In the term of returns enchantments, I don't think I have anything like that. But uh, I do have a series of axes, and you see him turn. I'm trying to remember what the he turns around holding a great axe in one hand, which he's kind of leaned against the ground, and a battle axe in the other. He says, "These are the only two that I have."
Are they normal?
Unfortunately for the time, yes.
Okay. Do you know of anyone, or are you able to apply enchantment?
I know how to make a few, but they're a little pricey due to resources being a little scarce.
And of a enchantment to return to my hand?
That is a bit beyond my knowledge.
Mm. Then the question still stands of, do you know one who has the knowledge of that?
Nobody in this ring. That would probably be one of the two inner rings. Would probably have someone of that degree. Probably a wizard of sorts, maybe an artificer, but uh, a man of my knowledge only can do simple enchantments. Uh, Something to give the blade a little more kick.
Hmm. I will purchase, per se, a referral to one who may be able to do this.
As much as I would like to help you, I am not the person who could refer you to anyone within the inner parts of the city.
Hmm.
I'm only a
Is
simple forge master.
similar to the security to enter this ring. I'm to assume there is another for that.
Yes.
Hmm. Of course.
We're from out of town. Why is there so much security between the rings?
Uh, it's been this way for many years. Order of Greyborough himself. I don't know if it's to protect his work and the work of his compatriots or for other means, but most people do not have access to the inner ring without some sort of accommodation,
See,
especially not someone
you
of
for the information.
my status.
Do you know a name of mm, a mage of any kind which may find interest in biological studies?
Uh, Fortunately, I do not know any of the mages of this city. There might be a few in Grandhelm up to the north, but I don't know of anyone here.
Uh,
I apologize if it's not what you wanted to hear, but that is all I cannot supply.
I simply need one who may be able to tell me a name. That is all. If you're not able to, that is not your fault.
Gives you a nod.
Hmm.
Is there anything else though that I can help you with?
How much for the great axe?
He looks it over, seeming to do some numbers in his head. He says, the moment, I would probably say 35 gold pieces.
Hmm. I think I will save that for food.
That's
Journey, do you wish to continue looking around here, or shall we go in either of the directions, deeper or farther out?
I say we continue to see what we can see. But let's not push our luck.
Yeah. I know where my goals lie, and I know the difficulty of getting to them, so I will simply follow you.
all right, Journey, where would you like to go? And as you leave,
Journey,
the man says, I sorry I couldn't help you further than what little information I had for you, but if you do find the desire to buy anything that I may have, I'm always here.
I appreciate this. And when Magnus leaves, like, he's not even saying this to anyone specifically, but he just says, it would have been easier to ask Mother for the enchantment.
your mom's some sort of witch.
What was that, Bard?
Oh, does your mother, does she have a vocation in the magical arts?
Yes, of a different style from what you find around here, but yes. Sadly, I don't believe we will be going near my home for some time.
Ah. Are there any clothing shops around?
Yes. You easily find clothing shops. There are a couple of family tailors. Uh, the one that catches your eye, a little more of probably more bardic establishment, as in more vibrant colors of clothing, uh, right outside in the front. Um, and you enter, and inside you find a you find two elves, uh, one of which is currently working on something behind the counter. The other one is kind of rearranging some of the cloaks that are on one of the racks within the room. And he turns and sees you all, and he says, "Oh, hello." He says, "We haven't had a customer in some time. How can I help you all?"
Hi, I was wondering if you had an item called a glamored studded leather. It's a magical item, but it'd be quite useful to have for my trade.
Glamour studded armor. Give me a moment. And he quickly scurries off.
Gone to type up on his computer to find out.
Yeah, glamored studded
It's,
leather.
I'm not doing what you think I'm doing. Shut your mouth. He is gone for a moment, and he comes back and he says, we don't. I do know exactly what you're talking about, but we don't have that. We do have a cloak of many fashions, if that might suit your fancy."
Oh, I'm already wearing one, but thank you.
Oh, of course.
I'm going for a complete set, as it were. It's much
Ah.
easier to do quick changing on stage when you've got both. But I thank you for looking into it for me.
He says, not a problem. He says, is there anything else that I could possibly interest you in?
No, I think I'm good, but thank you for checking anyway.
Of course. He seems a little bit disappointed, but he kind of returns to what he was doing before.
Do you have a cloak, most likely lined at the collar with some kind of furs?
He says, I think we have something, and he goes off to one of the other racks and begins going around it and pulls out. It is a black cloak with what looks to be on the interior a uh it looks like bear skin, dark brown in color, very thick, and some of it does actually peek around the edge of the hood. Not quite like a winter's coat, but it does have like around the collar, it does fluff up a little bit. It says, would this meet uh, your requirements?
While a wonderful piece of garb, it does not, sadly. It is all right. I did not expect what I was looking for, only hoping.
Gotcha. Okay. Um, is there anything else?
Magnus would just kind of look back towards Journey as he's still not the best at conversing in general. I mean,
His social
Magnus,
skills are poor.
Magnus's existence is mostly battle, so talking isn't really his best ability.
Oh, I think we'll take our leave, but thank you for all your help. We're sorry we didn't have anything else we were looking for, because this looks like quite a fine shop.
Oh, thank you. Well, if you do ever find anything else that you might need, please come back. We'll always be
Thank
happy
you.
to do business with you.
And have an excellent day.
Oh, you as well.
Thank you.
Right, so you guys leave the shop. He continues back to what he was doing before. what is it now that you would wish to do? By this
I want
point,
to head to the
it's nearing sunset.
third ring.
We can make the attempt, but Magnus like stops and just looks over at Journey and just says, "You know, I do not completely remember why we are even traveling south."
Remember, we all had the weird dream, the guy in the desert, the outlands.
You guys keep talking. I'll be right back. I gotta do something.
Following a dream, yes.
No, weirder things have happened, right?
If we are traveling south, unless you wish to find something in the third ring, it may be best for us to just go.
I agree. It probably isn't the best that we try pushing our luck any further.
While at the at the seventh or so ring, on one of the few outer rings, I would be confident I could take on the local garrison. I do not wish to need to attempt defend against what may be set up further in.
Now, let's not start any wars while we're here.
No.
You're a fighter, but the rest of us, well, let's see where Trinket's got us bunked up for the night, huh?
Yes.
Thank you for buying me time. All right.
It's best to find where Trinket is found to stay for the night. We'll need to leave as soon as possible.
Okay, so you guys, are you trying to get into the third ring, or are you heading back to the seventh?
I think we're gonna head back to the 7th.
Okay. So you guys head back to the seventh ring. You don't really have any issues. Guards are pretty lenient on letting people leave. It's more about letting people in is the hard part. But you guys get back, and not long after reaching the market, you do. Trinket does end up finding you rather quickly once you guys get back to the seventh ring, and she leads you to a small tavern called the Leaky Cauldron. And when you head inside, you find Balrock has been drinking again within the tavern, keeping to himself in the corner. Dusk looks to be playing cards with some people, kind of having a very entertaining time as you guys enter. And Trinket is kind of keeping an eye on Dusk, kind of not hovering but keeping close as like a just in case type situation. Is there anything you guys wish to do for the night?
Probably approach them, ask them how their day was.
Dusk and Trinket?
Yeah.
Okay. Dusk turns to you and says, "Oh, it's been a wonderful day. I've had such a great time."
What did you do?
Well, I've been making friends here. She looks around the bar and playing games with different people. What about you?
Well, we went exploring, and yeah.
Ooh, that must have been fun.
Well,
So I did want to go to the inner rings, but I think I had a better time here.
Yeah, it was difficult to get there, and there wasn't too much to see.
We ventured all the way till the fourth before we realized venturing further may result in battle.
You got all the way to the fourth ring?
Yes.
Wow. And she turns back to her cards and starts looking through them really quickly and playing something. She said, that must have been really fun.
It was different.
Good exercise.
Trinket kind of steps up and kind of cuts off Dusk from, continuing the conversation. She said, "How did you get all the way there? If you don't mind me asking."
The bard here is a wonderful liar.
Liar.
I
I
only
call it
had to
just
follow
asking
them.
very nicely, and yeah.
Oh,
Whatever
understandable.
it
You're
is
good
you
at
like
lying.
to call it.
Well,
Yeah.
Journey is a very persuasive individual.
Yep. Can't deny that. Yeah, it was interesting, about social strife, all that kind of fun stuff you learn about when first venturing into a strange city.
see.
Bit of light in the forefront, lots of goods there, if you know what I mean.
Yes. There's a few good items there. But yeah, nothing compares to the center ring. But I haven't been there in some time, and I don't think I will ever get back there after what happened.
It's like you got a story there, but
I pissed off one or two people, and well, if the guards ever saw me, I'd probably be dead on the spot. But that's what you get for angering the rich.
how's the bird?
Oh, you mean my familiar? He's fine.
No, not that one. The one passed
Oh.
out drunk in the bar.
Him. I almost forgot he was with us. He's fine. He's just drinking like he always does. Keeps him busy. Keeps him out of my hair.
Hey, if it works, it works.
Yes. And she turns to Dusk and says, "Why don't we get you settled for the night?" Dusk kind of looks a little disappointed, but gives her a nod. And lets Trinket lead her off out of the room.
I think the last thing the party hears Magnus say before everyone turns in for the night is just him turning to the bartender and just saying, "It is bad business to advertise a leaky cauldron in a place where multiple eat, is it not?"
It gives you a look, and this bartender is a very large human man. He just big bushy beard, uh, longish hair, kind of Vikingish in appearance. Um, he just kind of gives you a look. He says, "It's just a name."
I was expecting a different reaction. And then he'd just walk away.
Guy kind of grunts, continues doing the bartender thing of wiping the same mug with the same cloth. He's just kind of standing there looking busy.
I think I'll hit the sack too.
All right, you guys.
Actually, I'm gonna ask the bartender if he needs anyone to play a stand.
When you ask him that, he's pretty much says, "Be my guest," and gestures to the empty stage that's in the corner. It's not much of a stage. It's more of like a foot high platform, like ever so slightly higher than the rest of the floor.
No, maybe I'll get some copper. Who knows? Performance check.
Yes, roll a performance check. That'll determine what you get out of the night.
26.
26. Wow,
Yep, rolled a 19 plus 7.
You rock everything. You have people singing along with the things you've sing, and you have a couple of people recognize you from here and there. From this, you gain about 33 gold pieces. 24 silver and 3 copper.
Okay, so plus 33 gold. You said 20 silver,
24 silver,
24 silver, and 3 copper.
3 copper.
Okay, so 33, 24, 3. And
Yes.
I'll add that. Thank you.
And as well, 1 or 2 people offers to buy you a drink. It's your choice to take those or
Yep.
not.
I'll accept.
Yes, and so you get 2 free things of ale, and around the end of your second drink, it's about the time people start leaving, and by that point, it's probably around 11, 12 at night. There are people leaving. Most of the crowd is leaving by this point. Seems to be turning in because most of these people look to be traveling the next day. Some stick around. Balrock got dragged to one of the rooms during a certain point of your performance by Trinket. And is
A very ugly male creature taking him. I don't know why. I just thought, oh, let's throw that in there.
No, Trinket drags him to bed so that he can go to sleep and so she doesn't have to deal with his shit.
Fair.
Smart.
And you guys end up sharing a room that Trinket ends up coining or getting a pretty much a deal on, and spends the coin to get the rooms. You end up staying in the same room with Balrock Magnus. It is 2 beds, and Journey ends up staying with Trinket and Dusk, who Trinket and Dusk end up sharing a bed because they're both quite small individuals.
I'll tell when I learned that Barak and Magnus are saying together, I'll say, have fun, you two. 'Cause I
I
know they
will not
do not
kill
like each
him in
other.
his sleep.
It's okay. I think the alcohol will do that by itself.
I can only hope.
Yeah, and he is passed out when you come into the room, like on his back, mouth wide open, snoring loudly, tongue kind of hanging to one side.
Magnus is gonna go to the roof.
All right.
Hang out with Vendraka.
Yeah, Eldraka's probably already on the roof. Isn't that right, Jared?
Yep.
Well, Aldraka's not gonna make me leave.
Okay.
You got a
So-
roommate.
Yeah, so you guys end up taking your long rest for the night after your very easygoing day. You wake up the next morning. Magnus, you're actually one of the first to wake up. And you hear the sound of chuckling. Very faint, twisted, multi-layered.
It's a damn sword.
And it seems to be coming from the alleyway down below. What do you do?
I'm gonna stand at the edge and look down.
You look down, and as you are staring down, you don't quite see the source from where you're standing. You can tell it's a little further down the alleyway and around a small corner. Though as you are getting closer, it is getting progressively louder and is gaining more levels, more layers to it. Now incorporating some deeper laughs.
Yeah, fuck it. Fuck it. Fuck it. I will go down and follow the noise.
You follow the noise, what seems to be much further than what you would think. This sword should, or not sword, this laughing should be at. And it leads you to that shop that you'd found before. But the shop that you found before, it's empty. It's a barren building. No one, it looks like there's cobwebs everywhere, there's dust all over the place, and there's just a blade. But it's not the same blade you saw before. It's a little bigger. And it is sitting on the stand. The only thing in the room is this stand on top of this counter that is covered in a very thick layer of dust. And it is just laughing and laughing.
Is there some kind of box or chair that I can just pull up to this thing?
Yeah, there'd probably be like a kind of a stand, like a small table type thing that you could pull up.
Yeah, I'm just gonna pull that up and sit there and stare at this and just kind of like, just Magnus is just gonna say, "So what do you think it is?" "Hmm, I don't believe it's safe to hold, but that's only my opinion."
And the laughing kind of quiets a little bit for a moment, seeming to. It almost sounds as if there are multiple individuals circling you, various degrees of laughing. Uh, some higher, some of a higher pitch, some of a lower tone. They are just laughing and laughing as they circle your head over and over again.
Do
And
you?
a few times you notice, you think you can see the mouth on the blade shift ever so slightly.
Hmm, I wonder, don't you? Yeah. Well, I am not uh, in the market for a sword, laughing one. Goodbye. And he's just gonna get up and walk out.
As you are leaving, as happened before, the laughing grows louder and louder. But it doesn't stop initially once you exit the building. It seems to follow. Uh, and it follows you all the way back to the inn, to the point where all you can hear is laughter. And the moment you see Trinket as you enter the building, it seems to fade. She is sitting at one of the tables, Dusk by her side. Um, and around this point, Journey and Eldraka have entered the room as well.
Magnus is just going to very simply sit down, get some, like, just, it doesn't matter where he gets it, but he's just gonna grab a drink and drink it. And he's just gonna look at Trinket and just say, depending on how far south we go, we may need to visit my home. I am in the need of a cleansing of the mind.
Should you go back to the spooky sword shop?
Mm, yes, it is not populated anymore. Not by my hand, if that's what you would assume.
And you didn't take the spooky sword? You could get it cleansed or something.
Mm, I am not looking for a sword.
And as you are thinking about it, you can hear the laughing again, just very faintly, for just a moment as you are thinking about it. But as the thought passes, so does the laughing.
Though, mayhaps I will retrieve it so that I may melt it within some forge's heat.
Be
But that
fun,
is
I'm
the
sure.
best use I would have for it.
And Trinket just kind of sits there quietly and says, "Okay. Well, on that note, I did acquire us a caravan to travel with. There's a group. It's about probably 15 other wagons heading south towards Drygin. Um, they offered us pretty much passage with them, and a group that large is relatively untouched. Most of the time, going down to Drygin.
So-
But we would have to catch up with them within the hour.
Do they have recommendations on what supplies we should be bringing with us?
Food, water, things of that nature. Things to
Well,
protect you from the sun, because we will be entering the desert.
Right. That's probably best if we all get cloaks to protect us.
I have
Perhaps
mine.
goggles for the sand.
It wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't
Masks.
hurt.
Well, let's see what we can scare up at the local shops before the caravan departs.
The only problem which my peoples are not built for when looking at the hardships of the desert is the heat. Most problems you find in a desert are very similar to that of a tundra.
Well, generally, if you can keep yourself hidden from the sun, there's not too much to worry about unless you run out of water. I've traveled a bit through the Outlands in my time, but not a lot. But really only to Drygin, and once or twice I managed to get down to one of the lower cities. I want to say I got to... Oh, it was Gemport. That's what it was. Gemport was the one I've been to once or twice. But
Well, let us go.
right, and as you
Okay,
guys
well-
exit, there is actually a place not too far from the tavern. She goes and fetches the cart, dragging Balrock with her, as well as Dusk, and you guys do find a shop, and for the brevity of time and not trying to RP through every single encounter you have, you do find you can get a pair of goggles. They price you probably a good pair of goggles would probably price you about a silver piece.
I'm definitely willing to pay that. How many like scarves?
Face
protect the dark
mask or a
faces?
scarf. One that'll do the job is going to cost you probably about 4 to 5 silver. A nice one is probably going to be probably about 8 or 9.
Okay, I'll do goggles for 1 silver and the expensive scarf for 8.
And
I'll do-
then what else were you looking for as well? I was trying to think of. So the goggles and
Water.
scarves. Water's not hard to come by. You could probably get a fairly sized thing of water for probably say a gold piece.
How much for so a bear? Like how much for a barrel's worth?
That
of
would be
water?
like a barrel would be the gold piece, and most of that cost is because of the barrel, not the water.
And how
Okay.
much for 8 days of rations?
Do rations have a price on them?
Yeah, 5.5.
Oh,
That's the weight.
Oh, I'm sorry.
8 days of rations is
One.
probably gonna go. You'll
Oh,
probably
shit.
get it for about four gold pieces.
1 day of rations is 1 GP.
This one says
Okay.
5 silver.
5 silver? Oh, okay then. Never
That's why I'm
mind.
saying four gold pieces would get you about 8 days worth.
Okay.
For all of us or just one per person?
Well, that would be for 4. That would be a total of 8 days, which 8 days would survive one person for 8 days, 2 people for 4, and so on.
Okay.
I'll buy
Then-
the water.
Oh, I
I'll
already
buy.
paid for the water.
Okay, so how much for enough? I guess for all of us rations.
I grabbed 10 myself.
Okay. I guess with ignoring Magnus then. How much for everyone else,
And
including myself?
Trinket already has her own, and Dusk has her own as well.
I
You don't
already
have
have
Okay.
16.
So we already have
I
people with rations.
yeah, I already have 11 days of rations on me, so
Okay.
okay. I guess we're all ready to go then.
Yes. So you guys end up meeting up with this caravan. It's a very diverse group that you will be traveling with. Um, there's people from all walks of life. There's a couple of tieflings. Most of them are not elven, dwarven, or like the common type races. It's more beast folk and lesser populated races like tieflings. There is a what are they called?
Kobolds.
There's a furbolg, or there's about two furbolgs in the group. There
There's
is a
these really
fam.
weird kobolds that keep fighting each other. One of them's mute.
Yeah. No, you guys are that family is traveling over the mountain range, not south. No, there is a family of kobolds though that is traveling. They seem to be traveling with a bugbear. And there's a couple other interesting characters among the group. No one of any concern. They all seem just like people trying to get by, just doing whatever they can to make money. But you guys, do you have anything you wish to do during those 4 days of travel to Drygin? You
I'm
want
just
to
gonna
have
try
a
relaxing
just
and
relaxing?
covering up. Well, relaxing, covering up as best I can so I don't get sunburnt. I'm already red.
I don't need to get redder. uh, Within the first day, you actually hit the desert as Greatboro is practically on the edge of it, um, and the rest of the time is mainly just desert journeys. And during that time, uh, you hear tales from different people of things they've seen in the deserts. The eternal sandstorm of Mirage, the criminal activity of Grave Whale, the ghost town of Coffin Rim, things of that nature. And while you're traveling, there is a talk. There's a couple of them talking about a tavern in the city of Drygin. Uh, it goes by the name the Full Moonshine Tavern. Very popular place based on how people are talking about it, and without telling you the kind of people within this who go to this tavern specifically, they do say it attracts a very specific type of individuals. Um, and the only ones who seem to be talking about this would be the beast folk. Uh, the bugbear seems very excited about this tavern. The kobolds seem very excited. Only one of the furbolgs is interested in this place. Other than that, though, the rest of the individuals within this little troop that you're traveling with uh, seem uninterested in this. And while you are traveling, one of the kobolds by the name of Clay, who is probably one of the more excited about it, is willing to offer certain. He's been offering to different people that he would help them get into the walls of the city to see this tavern. As he explains, the city is split. There's a wall surrounding about 2/3 of the city. The other half, or the other third of the city, is open borders to whoever wishes to come in, type deal.
Hmm.
But he does offer to help you guys get to this tavern if you choose to.
I'll consult the group and ask, do we have a need to stop?
Trinket
I
says, Trinket says, it can't hurt. All we know is we're just supposed to come to the desert. We don't know who was in that vision.
we do not know a better location. Only the desert. It may be best to go to such a popular place.
Suppose so.
You can only find answers here.
Hmm.
Or more questions.
Yes, or more questions. But those questions may lead to something. Better than just wondering who we saw in that vision. But
I suppose we should go.
I'm intrigued. So you guys, after the 4 days worth of traveling, mark off 4 rations for you guys.
Inventory.
As
Rations.
you guys make it to the city, this city, as you guys approach it, it looks like your stereotypical desert town. Kind of the uh, sand-colored buildings made of sandstones and various other materials that they could get from this terrain make up most of the buildings, and there are these large walls that surround the eastern portion of this portion of the city, with a large gate leading in to that section of the city. There's actually 2 gates, both of which face the part of the town that the other part of the city is at. And after you guys find a place for your cart, which to store it and the horses would probably cost you about 5 silver for a few days. It's not too pricey here, as this is a a travelers area. You guys get your cart parked, and when you find these doorways, they're guarded by. They're not your typical guard. Considering you've left the kingdom of Almoria, uh, these people look like what you would consider a raider to look like. They're dressed in various cloths and wrappings, covering up most of their body. Some having their face showing, others covering head to toe, not allowing uh, their features to be seen in any kind of way. And these people are standing guard. There's probably about 8 of them at each gate, with a few more wandering around on the inside and the outside of this gate. It seems only certain groups of people are able to get through these gates. Though Clay, after you guys do these, says, he goes, I know another way in. Come with me. And he kind of gets low and starts running, kind of to the edge of the city, where you find there is these odd huts that are kind of almost embedded to the side of the city. There's a group of goblins who are kind of huddled around these huts. There's like 3 goblins per hut, just kind of sitting there. They seem to be gambling as you all approach before Clay steps forward and begins to converse with them. Do any of you speak Goblin?
Nope.
Nope.
He begins speaking with them in Goblin for several seconds, handing off a few coins before gesturing to all of you and says, "Come on, they're going to let us through." And one of the goblins opens the door to the shack, and you see a ladder leading into a hole under the ground. And Clay begins to climb down this ladder. Do you follow?
Sure.
Okay, you all
Yeah.
follow.
Oh,
You all follow Clay into this makeshift. It could probably be considered a rat tunnel. He seems very comfortable down here, considering kobolds generally, travel in these types of tunnels or live in these types of tunnels in some mountain ranges. And it goes maybe about 100 feet before emerging again. And when you guys come to the top, you are in another building, a little larger. A few hobgoblins standing guard inside. They don't say anything to you as you exit. And you guys enter the city, this part of the city. And now that you're on the inside, you are seeing a lot more of those raider-looking individuals. But you are also seeing several individuals who are very finely dressed, some wearing very glamorous jewels and various pieces. A couple have these golden headbands on. There are a few with golden necklaces and rings embedded with various stones. These people, a lot of these people, though, that are wearing these things also look very hardened and rough and tough. This is not your ordinary band of wealthy folks. They are wealthy for some reason, and they have not lived a very easy life to get to this point, as you can tell. I am yawning so goddamn much, and I need to stop.
It's
And I don't know-
infectious.
It is infectious. I'm killing myself here. It's awful. I don't know if you guys have been yawning, and you guys may have been triggering me yawning, but
no, I've been racked on too much caffeine to even think about yawning.
can't say the same. But you guys are led through the city, this part of the city. Clyde turns to you at one point and just says, I recommend don't make any eye contact. Keep, eyes down or away. Don't look at anyone. People get very, very angry here if you look at them funny.
He's not just talking about the Raiders.
No, he's talking about everyone. He's saying don't look at anyone. People don't take it nicely in this town if you look in their direction because everyone's paranoid.
Put on your goggles, then they can't see where you're looking.
Damn, fine. I'll just... Because it's basically... Magnus is just standing there with the goggles and the scarf wrapped around his neck and like... But I think because he lost the vest at some point, now he's just full-on fucking shirtless. Then he has
the vest.
I just remember something about losing the vest. I don't know.
I think you took it off to do the fight.
Oh, that was it.
Just
Okay, so
never
yeah,
got it back.
This is your favorite vest too.
Then. No, because the thing about the vest is it's just a ripped up fucking cloak. So it's just the ripped up cloak, the scarf, and the goggles. And I really thought if he was talking about a specific group, Magnus would just fucking death stare them.
Yeah,
I like to
he's
imagine
talking about
Magnus
like
is just-
everyone.
I like to imagine Magnus is so it's always just kind of crouch walking through this tunnel.
He had to like crawl through the tunnel,
Yeah,
like almost hands and knees.
he's
like
8
this-
feet, man.
Yeah, this tunnel was made for like a dwarf would have to crouch in this tunnel. Like it was made by goblins for goblins mainly, but they're letting other people use it for coin. But he leads you to the city, kind of weaving around, keeping his eyes down. And you guys approach this very nice... It's at a place. It is a tavern entirely made of wood, which doesn't seem right in this kind of city, considering every building seems to be made of sandstone or something similar.
They imported an entire building.
They imported the entire building. You've done it. You've solved my riddle. No. And the front doors are. It almost looks more like a saloon than a tavern. The swinging doors in the front. A lot of though these doors, instead of partially covering the entranceway, they take up the entirety of the entranceway. They're easy to push through. The windows are blacked out. However, you cannot see inside with the windows. And upon pressing into the bar, you are introduced with moonlight. And Magnus, the moment you pass through this bar, your form changes.
Oh god.
Just like the night of the eclipse. And you take on your more, lycanthrope form-ish, midway between your hybrid lycanthrope and your human appearance, or Goliath appearance. And as you guys enter, you notice within this tavern, it is filled with various lycanthropes and beast folk, all mingling in their more bestial forms, drinking and having a good time, which is strange, considering lycanthropes in their hybrid form generally seem to be more aggressive. These ones seem very docile. And
What happens when I leave the building?
you change back.
Okay, Magnus is just going to look at Journey from outside the building.
And you can't see her from outside the building. The doors close and it blocks your view.
That's fine. He just crosses the fucking road and just watches the front doors from there.
Like, and
I guess Journey and Draka, roll perception checks for me.
we just walked into the Mos Eisley Cantina of werewolves.
Copyright claim. Wow, nat 20.
7.
Alright, you are very enthralled by the fact that there are lycanthropes everywhere, Journey. And Draka, who you've seen a number of werefolk in your lifetime. You look around and you notice the ceiling of this tavern. There seems to be some sort of illusion across the ceiling, representing that of a night sky with a full moon that beams down over the entire room, taking up a decent portion of the ceiling. You also get the sense that there's also a spell of some sort that seems to be calming most of the people within the room, as you can feel this calming sensation fall over you. And it may not be necessarily something that you want to happen, but you have no feeling of wanting to fight it at the moment. And as you are looking around, you do notice in the back of the tavern, there is the barkeeper, a lupin individual, silver fur, purple eyes, staring directly at you and Journey and Trinket. Everyone except for Magnus. He's staring directly at you all, hands pressed on the counter.
We take Dusk into the bar.
Dusk is with you. Dusk has been in many bars. He looks intrigued by all of you as he's just kind of watching intently. And you also notice in the corner there is another Lupin individual. This one is female. She is in the corner of the room playing a piano. She's playing it's a faster pace tune that she is playing, but she is pretty much the piano version. She, as you can see, this one, you can see her eyes, one of which is you see two yellow eyes as she's looking over the room while she's playing. Black fur, dark pitch black fur. One of her eyes looks to be the iris of it, based on with the natural 20. You can see this. One of her eyes seems to have the shape of a kind of a gear shape to it, almost like a cog. And it would be her left eye is this cog shaped iris, which is strange. And she is playing in the bar, playing the piano, while some people sit around her. Some people leaning on one or two people leaning against the piano as she plays. So, what would you like to do now that you have entered the bar?
Oh, take Dusk kind of protectively, kind of I pull her close to me and like approach the bar, get us some food and stuff.
You approach the bar, and the barkeeper kind of looks you up and down. He says, uh, he says, "What brings you to my bar?"
We're just passing through. We're up from Elmoria, heading down south.
I feel like I recognize you.
I've never been through these parts before.
Mm-hmm. Well, word does get this far south from Almoria.
We get a couple of waters and a Dusk. Would you like to eat something?
She kind of gives you a nod, kind of
Um,
climbs up onto a stool and stares at the barkeep, kind of infatuated a little bit. And he gives her a soft smile, looks back to
kind
you.
of food do you have here?
Let me go check. Yeah, most of the time we usually just have things like various meats, usually chicken. Most of it's meat, considering, well, my patrons are more for that. Says, let me see what we have on the menu. And he
Thank you.
disappears out of sight, heading into this back room. Returns a second or two later with a plate. It has various. It's all chicken. It's all been kind of cut up and shredded a little bit. So, it seems this is what tonight's special is. We don't serve too much here, considering those who come through. But
Well, are you interested in that Dusk?
she shrugs and kind of gives a partial nod. Says it's 5 silver. It's not too pricey.
Okay. Here you go.
Sets it down, takes the silver.
Thank you.
He says, though, I am sensing there's a little bit more to your all appearance here. What happened to your larger friend who came in for a moment? He intrigued me.
Well, he's not terribly comfortable with his let's say bestial aspects.
Well, that's a
I would
shame.
I would assume.
That's a real shame. This is the perfect place for people like him, but don't push and pry. Though, a group of your appearance. I assume you all are searching for work, maybe answers to something.
Yes, it's true. We've come to the Outlands seeking answers.
Hmm. If you don't mind me asking, what kind of answers? I'm interested to hear.
Well, the others like to joke that I give up too much information, but I really don't seem to see the harm here. For all, we're quite at a loss of what this all means. Well, shared dream. uh, kind of a, and then I explain kind of like the dream that we were given, I believe, last session, or is it the session before?
It was
Um,
last session.
yeah, of like the old man in the desert.
He scratches his chin, turning towards the Lupin on the piano, who has finished playing her song and kind of stands up. He gestures for her to come over. She comes over and he begins to. You can only assume he's repeating what you said, but he is speaking in Knoll as he says it. She gives several nods, gives him kind of a shrug, and turns to you and says, "Well, it's a very odd dream for all of you to have, and it really doesn't narrow out anyone, considering most people around these parts dress that way.
And the desert's a big place.
That it is. That it is.
What,
What were you gonna say?
oh, sorry. What's your name?
Oh, the female Lupin gestures to herself and says, "My name is Sylvia."
Sylvia. Nice name.
Yes.
My name's
Thank
Journey. Pleasure to meet you.
Journey. I've heard of you, Journey. Once or twice. Your name has come up in conversation. I've heard you are quite the entertainer.
Well, I'd like to think so. Never thought my name would precede me in the Outlands, but here we are.
Well, a lot of news gets to Drygin, but generally, stops here. Nothing goes much further than here. The other Lupin smiles a little bit. He says, you can call me Kai.
Nice to make your acquaintance, Kai.
And gives you a slight nod. Kind of, for a moment, straightens up, and he points past you, and he shouts. He says, "Hey, come here." You turn to see a bugbear who is trying to make his way out of the building. He gestures for him to come to the side of the bar, and they begin conversing for a moment while Sylvia is standing before you. If you want to hear in on that conversation, you can roll a perception check.
Okay. Let's see. 13.
13. Based on you get bits and pieces. Based on what he is saying, you got the idea that Kai has mentioned nothing in this bar happens without him seeing, and something about the bugbear needing to pay his tab. Or he won't be drinking anymore. Type deal. And Sylvia turns to you as this conversation's happening and says, she says, "So, you all came here for a dream. Are you looking for work?"
Oh, we need to do work to keep ourselves afloat. What do you have in mind, Sylvia?
I'll have to speak with Kai. But I have heard of there's work if you want to go to Coffin. A couple of people have gone missing. People that pay a pretty penny to find out what happened to them. And, I've heard of things that have been locked away in that ghost town.
Can't say I've ever heard of it, but you adding Ghost Town makes me realize exactly why I've never heard of it. How many days' journey is it out from here?
Probably a 5 days ride.
5 days.
Uh,
I will bring it up with my compatriots and see what they think.
the most dangerous thing along that path would be maybe scorpions, some types of dragon. Uh, but most of them tend to keep them to themselves, and if you travel during the day, you may not have a problem. But the heat may get to you.
So why exactly did Coffin Room become a ghost town?
There are many different rumors on specifics. Some say there's a curse. Others believe there's a gateway to hell, the nine hells. Others say it was the doing of a gang who killed a few of the wrong people. But none of the tales really hold too much truth.
Sounds like a real vacation destination.
Oh, yes. Great place for a honeymoon. She kind of chuckles to herself a little bit.
Well, I'll go talk to my friends and see if we can't find these honeymooners of yours.
Of course, if you do manage to succeed and find anything out, you might as well come back here.
Sounds good.
Yes.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Of course. She
So, yeah.
kind of slides back over towards the piano again. And as she does, she positions herself back down in front of it. Kai finishes his conversation with the bugbear, who is very nervous now. And he looks a little. What's the word I'm looking for? He almost seems disappointed in himself as he is kind of slumped over a little bit and makes his way out of the bar or the tavern. Kai goes back to kind of serving drinks. So you're gonna go find the rest of the party?
Yeah, let's regroup.
Okay, so Trinket
Come along,
is
Dust.
talking to different people. Dusk is eating, or was eating during that conversation. She'd probably still be eating by this point. She is only a halfling. She is probably still eating.
I'll be back for you later then. Be safe.
She nods, and her little imaginary friend Luna appears on her shoulder again, hovers onto the counter. She continues to eat. You find Trinket. She's talking to a group of people at one of the bars, kind of very intrigued and asking questions. Though, when you ask for her, she quickly says her goodbyes and follows you. Where are you, Eldraka?
Oh, I've just been standing behind Journey.
You're just following Journey? Okay. That's what I assumed.
You're posing back there.
Yeah, T-posing everywhere he goes, just sliding. You can hear the sound of stone being dragged across stone as he slides.
I mean, that would be pretty intimidating.
Yes, all the time. That's just him. He's just a weeping angel. Without the not being able to move, when you look at him, he just slides towards you slowly.
It's like people who push chess pieces across the board.
Yes.
So yeah, I guess we'll go across the street and meet.
Okay.
Actually, I'll call Magnus over to our side of the street, but not into his establishment, just because I don't want to wander too far from dusk.
Yeah. Okay. So,
I'm a good guardian.
do you respond? Do you go to the building?
As long as I do not enter the building,
okay,
I'm good.
Yep. So you guys meet up kind of on the front steps of the building. It's kind of like a porch area on the front, like this.
I'm not even
deck.
I'm looking over to them. I'm not even walking on the fucking porch.
You just get onto the kind of the street right in front of it. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, we've had a business opportunity laid out in front of us. Some people have gone missing over in Coffin Ridge, and well, there's money to be made. if we could find out what happened to them. Now, Coffin Ridge is a ghost town. A bunch of varying answers to why it's a ghost town. Some supernatural, some not so much. It's a 4-day journey out. And like I said, there's money to be made.
Mm,
Bar owner doesn't have any answers as to what our vision could mean, where it could be to have taken place, who was in it. Apparently, a lot of people dress like that guy around here, but I don't know. Maybe Coffridge has the answers we're looking for. Maybe it doesn't, but it's an opportunity nonetheless. And well,
then we'll go. Further from here, the better.
Much as, yeah, I'd hate to go to a ghost town. I think I have to agree. I think it's a good opportunity.
well, we should pick up more rations. I don't know about you, but well, I've only got 7 days left, and if it's 4 days there, 4 days back,
Might not be a bad idea.
Mm,
But I'd probably suggest getting it outside of the walls.
oh,
Mainly because I don't think in here would be selling them for cheap. Based on what I've heard from a few of the people in the bar or the tavern, prices get a little high within the walls.
you say
But
so.
they also have very exotic goods here. But
Well,
it's pricey.
would we like to rest for the night and depart tomorrow, or should we just see about getting this done sooner than later?
I think we need our rest.
I agree. The horses burned it.
Yes, the horses should be fine, and I guess in the morning we can get any additional supplies, water, food, get it all in the cart and go.
Oh. We'll see if I can't pay for Trinket, Dusk, and I to stay at this establishment. Agnes, if you want to find your own place. I know this establishment makes you uncomfortable.
eh, I just. He knows he's not allowed out without my permission. This place is bad for us. And Magnus just starts walking down a street.
Okay.
Mm,
So you are heading inside to acquire room, potentially.
Yeah. I'll see if I can play for it.
You reapproach the bar as Kai is eyeing you from the door again. It seems that what he said about how he doesn't miss anything, it seems to be pretty accurate thus far. And as he approaches, you see that Dusk is finishing up her meal. He looked to have been talking to her a little bit, kind of smiling a little bit as you guys came into the bar, or back into the tavern. And he's taking away the empty plate as you approach, kind of setting it down to the side.
Hello again.
Yes, hello. What can I?
I was wondering if, well, I could play tonight in exchange for my two friends and I getting bored. We're taking on that Grave Hollow job tomorrow, so we would like to get a rest.
Yes, Coffin Rim.
Coffin
Ghost
Rim, I'm
Town.
sorry.
Yes.
Must, there's just so many towns
Oh, you're new here, so
with
it
ominous
only
names.
makes sense that you would
Coffin
not
Rim.
remember the names of our beloved ghost towns. He kind of
How
rolls
many
his
do you
eyes a
have
little
here?
bit. Oh, just the one, but there's probably ghosts in many of the other towns as well. They may as well be ghost towns, but
I see.
well, rooms are a little tight at the moment. We do. Uh, it, hmm,
We can all sleep
if
to a single room.
if you play tonight, I would say we can accommodate something for the group of you.
That's fair.
Yes, and I will talk to Sylvia about the specifics. She deals more with that. I'm mainly, I'm the face of the tavern, as well as the one everyone gets to talk to, gets to know.
I'd love to perform alongside her. She's quite a good pianist.
I would of course ask her first, but I don't think that it'll be much of a problem for you to convince her, considering she knew your name.
Yeah.
All right, so you roll me a performance check, my guy.
22. Dirty.
22. Wow. All right.
It was like a 15. I have the +7.
You do convince her. The conversation isn't very long. It's very easy to convince her. You simply pretty much ask her, and she pretty much tells you yes. And you guys play for a pretty good number of probably about 2 or 3 hours of just playing. And when you are done, there's actually quite a few people who have been listening in on your singing and playing. Most of them, even though it is not the type of music that would be playing in this type of place, a lot of them find it very entertaining. A lot of people were clapping as you, or as much as claws can clap, as you got off the stage a few hours later.
Nice.
She turns to you and she says, I now understand why your name made it so far south. Very nice playing with you.
Well, it's a shame your name hasn't made it more north. You're quite good yourself.
Well, I stick to my tavern. Me and Kai.
It was a pleasure playing with you.
The pleasure is all mine. You have a good night now.
You too.
She kind of gets up and moves over to the bar and begins speaking with Kai for a moment before slipping into the back room where you assume is a kitchen, disappearing back there. And the rest of the night, I assume none of you are doing anything. We'll move to Magnus in a minute. Are you planning to do anything else that night?
No, I think we're gonna rest, get some rations in the morning, and head out.
All right. So you get everyone except for Magnus all kind of roomed up. You are given 2 rooms. By the end, he gives you a room for you, Trinket, and Dusk, and a room for Belrock and Eldraka, even though he doesn't realize that Eldraka is going to end up sleeping elsewhere.
This means we've managed to finally quarantine Balrog to his own room.
Yes, so he can sleep after he's drunk. And so Magnus, are you looking for anything specific, or are you just kind of wandering?
No, he's just gonna wander the night, man.
The
You know,
whole
actually,
night he's gonna wander?
do I know the direction in which this ghost town that we are investigating is?
Roll a... what check would this be? I would say roll a... Nature? Matt, roll a basic intelligence check. Just an intelligence check.
7.
You have no idea which direction to go.
Yeah, no, I'm just wandering this place.
So you're
for the
wandering
night.
inside the walls.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Are you wandering the entire night, or are you eventually going to find a place to rest?
The entire night.
Roll a con save for me.
25.
Okay. The next morning rolls around. You're a little tired, but you're not exhausted, as you did not sleep that night. The others who found their various sleeps either within or on top of the tavern end up regrouping in the street. You wandering up around this time. And Trinket says, I think we can just head out of the gates if we wish. And starts leading the way.
Sounds good.
Yes. And as you are walking, Magnus, roll a wisdom check for me.
21.
Okay. As you're walking, there you get a sense of something nagging at you. You can't think of what, and your mind kind of wanders for a minute on what could be kind of triggering this thought in your head. But nothing comes to mind. And the thought quickly passes as you pass through the gate. And the guards, you could call them, or whoever is these individuals that are just keeping watch. They seem to kind of eye you all over. The one who you can see looks to be a drow individual who's kind of wearing a hood over his head, looking confused on why they didn't see you enter the gate the day before. But they don't say anything to you as you pass through. You guys are now in the marketplace of Drygin.
How much is a ration out here?
Rations out here, due to the weather or due to the conditions, would probably be about 7 silver apiece. A little more pricey, but not as badly priced, or not too badly priced. So if you want so many, 7 by how many per each. For a large thing of water, unlike the single gold piece from before, it is for the same thing. It is 5 gold pieces. And that thing of water that you bought the day before, or not the day before you got here, that would last you it's probably about a week's worth of water. And you guys probably have 3 days left of water within that barrel. And it's a week for the party. So like if you buy 1, you have a week for the party.
Well, if it's 4 days there, 4 days back, we should probably buy another. Then we'll have enough water to last us the trip there and back.
Trinket Gibson says, I think I'd have to agree with that. I'd rather not die of dehydration.
Okay.
But it's a terrible
I'll
way to
front
go.
the gold for water. So you said 5?
Yep, 5 gold.
Okay. And then rations, I would like to buy. So you said 7.
7 silver apiece.
Okay. I want to buy 5, but I want to haggle. But I only have 34 silver, so I want to haggle.
So a
down.
gold piece is 10 silver. But you can
Screw
try to
it.
haggle if you want to. Roll. It would be persuasion, and you have silver tongue, so this is probably going to go your way regardless. But let's see what I roll.
Okay, so I rolled the 1. I rolled a nat 1, but that'll be a 10.
And the merchant rolled a nat 20, so it is remaining at 7.
Damn it. That means I'm just ultimately going to buy 10.
So just
I'm
to
just
do
gonna buy
7
10
gold
for
pieces?
70.
Or for 7 gold
So
pieces?
yeah, for 7 gold pieces, I'll buy 10 rations.
Okay. You take your rations. That was my first nat 20 on this dice. This dice has
Nice.
rolled shit. I picked up this dice like, I'm gonna roll like crap.
So now I have
20.
17 days of rations.
Good. That is good. And
I have dehydration before I starve.
yeah, generally how it goes. Alright. Is there anything else you wish to try to...
I'm gonna buy 1 more barrel of water, actually.
1 more barrel of water. Okay. So you guys have
Yep.
2 weeks and 3 days worth of water. So if you want to write that down as a note in your inventory,
Okay, yeah.
you can always do a
I'm
custom
adding
item.
I'm just adding in the notes section of my
Yeah, that works.
thing.
As long as you remember how much
Okay.
water you got.
So you said 2 weeks and 7 days?
Yes.
So 14 days in the week, that'd be what? Wait, no. 3 days, right? So 2 weeks and 3 days.
Yeah, 2 weeks and 3 days, yes.
So 17 days of water. And
Yes.
I have enough, and I have 17 days of rations, so nice.
Yes.
I figure in case we get lost in the desert, don't want to die of dehydration.
Yeah, that would probably be bad.
Probably. I don't know, I haven't done it before. I can't speak for experience.
Me neither. But you all gather your things in the cart, kind of preparing for the journey onward. I think this is where we'll call it for this one. I know this one lacked combat this session. I've reached the end of my notes actually. Not gonna lie, it's been a lot faster than I thought it would.
Yeah.
But I will say.
Oh, because I skipped the hook with the Lucius guy.
That was a portion of it, yes. We did lose a portion of it because of that, but we're all good up in the hood,
Yeah.
And as a note too, just like to throw this out there, you guys have been traveling, so you guys are 13 days after the party split, as of right this moment.
And they're 1 day, right?
They're currently on day, they just hit the eclipse, and the other party.
So yeah, we're in the future. We've time traveled.
Yes. During the time of their sessions, you are still traveling. And I will say, this session went a lot differently than I foresaw it.
How'd you foresee it going?
You guys made a lot different choices than what I was thinking was going to happen.
What do you think we were gonna do?
Well, there were a couple of things that I presented, and I was like, "Yeah, we'll get people to grab these." Nothing.
When shit
even a
is
nibble.
obviously cursed, there's a few fucking reasons not to pick it up.
Yeah, we skipped the deal with the devil. We skipped the demons.
I think it's and then
do we have the brain cells in this
We
half of the
skipped
party?
Devil went down to Georgia, and we didn't grab the laughing sword because last I checked, and this is just like the sword nerd part of me, but long swords do this thing where they fucking flex.
Okay, I
And
get
that's
it. You
not
don't
the
want a
kind of
sentient
motherfucker I
you
am.
realize
sword flexing on you.
I'm gonna throw this out there. The second time you saw it, it was a long sword. It had
That's still the kind of
not
sword.
a long sword, not a long sword. It changed to a great sword, I think.
Oh, well, then
Sorry,
there
I'm
was
naming it
still
wrong.
just the point of it was a laughing fucking sword, man.
And also, we didn't do a social revolution.
Also, I think the reason too, I'm gonna throw this out there. The reason this session went a little shorter than the other one. One, we didn't have Balrog here, so we lost a little bit of narrative. What is the word I'm looking for?
baggage.
Yes, narrative baggage. That's perfect. That is exactly what he is. Because he plays his character that way, and I think it's
Dead
perfect.
weight.
It's perfect. Well, it's perfect for his character because that's how he built him, and I think that's great. Also,
You're
you
just
guys
efficient.
have a lot less going on as a party. The other group is dealing with a lot of different things. Even though they are 6 people, but 2 of them aren't really adding. The 2 new people aren't adding anything. 2 of the members in the other party have a lot going on already.
It's because one of the characters used to be local, and then we left.
Yes.
We're just efficient, you know. We're counting our, working all of our rations.
One of our characters was technically local, and then we left. So now we're like, none of us are in a place where other than the mission that took us there is narrative like sidetracking.
Oh, they're not. None of them are local in that party.
The fucking Calder was.
Calder's not. Calder just has connections.
Yeah, Calder's a sage, so he's local everywhere.
Yeah. So the reason Calder is got a lot going on is because he has
Because he went to fucking college like a nerd.
He has the rune.
Nerd.
Well, he has the rune of Oculi, or whatever it was. I can't remember the exact name of it. That's giving him prophecy, and he's also waiting for some. He's got people that he knows in the city. He's got interest in different individuals in the city, and he's also waiting for the shopkeep Divian to finish making something for him.
His dragon crystal focus.
All I'm hearing here, man, is the nerd went to college and I'm only good at hitting things, so of course we do things faster.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we're just terribly efficient.
Yes. And this session, I wasn't planning to be a combat session, to be honest. I had a few things ready just in case, but I never really. To be honest, I actually thought you guys were going to get into a fight in Greyborough at one point.
Our characters are, I guess, too savvy.
Yeah, I was about to have to rip a bunch of stuff out on that, but on that note,
That funeral went well.
that funeral went
I didn't intend it.
That fake ass funeral. We don't know what happened.
I was gonna joke we should just find a random funeral procession and join it, just in case.
To be honest, you would have had to roll like a nat 20 to find a funeral. So I had no plans for there to be a funeral, but if you rolled a nat 20, the gods have spoken. I have to do it.
You have to kill someone.
Yeah, someone must die.
Straight up, man. Like, I am playing this character exactly how I envisioned it.
Now, I have to ask, though, too, and this is just for me. What do you guys think so far of the campaign?
I'm enjoying it. You know, I'm enjoying our growing harem of NPCs. Well, it was a harem before it split, but
I will say things
fun.
are going to get a lot more interesting over time. I will also say the last 2 weeks of me trying to write stuff has been rough, only because I've been dealing with things for the last 2 weeks, such as ailments and
your mom's birthday
and my mother's birthday, stuff like that. So
I think I'm gonna wait till next session to give you brutally honest criticism.
You're gonna wait till I feel like it's going to attack little things I've done here and there, and I could feel judgment when I said Kai and Sylvia.
Campaigns.
Why? What is that from?
Are a slow burn. So I'm gonna give it some time to burn before I say anything.
Oh, this campaign's gonna last a long time.
Yeah.
I'm still working on establishing your guys' story. The other one, I'm using what I had already established. This one is going to move. I have plot points though ready.
Yeah, it's like, why would I judge you when you haven't even established the main like drive of our party's storyline?
Yes. Though I will put this as a note though. I just gotta ask this. What do you think of it in the knowledge that I am working with whatever is coming to fucking mind in a week to try to build to what I have planned?
I'll be interested in seeing how you tie it together with what the other party is doing.
And that is also a hard part. I'm juggling. I have a bulletin board ready to go that I'm going to start stapling stuff to. But before we continue talking, we are going to end the stream. So as always, for those who are watching or watch in the future, we hope you guys enjoyed this narrative story. I apologize if it was lacking a couple of interesting things. If you want to catch up on previous episodes, check out the YouTube page, which I believe is in the description, or it's in the about for the Twitch. And if you want updates on when we are having sessions, there is the schedule on Twitch. It's not always accurate. And you can follow the Twitter, which is linked. You can follow you can join the Discord, which is linked. Or you can just follow and turn on notifications on Twitch. And as always, we hope you guys enjoyed and hope we see you all in the next one. Peace.